Mr. President, just to start off the interview, maybe an appropriate question would be American Idol. A lot of people say that once Simon leaves, it's going to be game over for American Idol. Agree, disagree?
Well, I don't agree. I think that what they were referring to, and I haven't looked at the quotes, but I think they were concerned about whether or not this was actually affordable. That's a concern I share, making sure that this is affordable.
Okay, I did not get any of that. Changing gears, though, that's okay. Let's talk a little bit more about you. Enough about politics and all that jargon.
The first thing we got to understand is you've got what is effectively a tax increase taking place on American families right now.
There you go, talking about your politics again. No, that's okay. I know that's partly why we're here. Okay, so now your wife called me last night. Okay, and nothing crazy. Just needed to borrow some butter and eggs, you know. Guess we're neighbor friends now, just down the street. And anyway, she brought up a good point about healthcare. She said, what I'm making is not very healthy. I'm not sure if you're going to want any of it. Can you believe that? Anyway, so what were you saying about healthcare?
Healthcare premiums went up 5.5% last year at a time when the rest of the economy, inflation was actually negative. We're going to make sure that, number one, if you don't have health insurance, you're going to be able to get affordable health insurance. Number two, if you have health insurance, we're going to have insurance reforms that give you more security. You know what you're going to get. You know that if you're paying your premiums, you're actually going to have coverage when you get sick.
So what you say?
Number three, it's going to be deficit neutral. It's not going to add a dime to the deficit now or in the future.
Mr. President.
Number four, it's going to start driving down our costs over the long term. Now, 80% of what I'd like to see is actually already in all the various bills that are in Congress. That last 20% is tough because we got to figure out making sure that we're paying for it properly, making sure that it really is relief to families who don't have health insurance. They're getting on average about 14% more overpayments, basically subsidies from taxpayers for a program that ordinary Medicare does just as good, if not better, at keeping people healthy.
Just to make sure we're speaking the same language here, when you say tax increase, we're talking about traditional tax increase, right? I mean, paying more money to the subsidiarial dividendarians?
You can't just make up that language and decide that that's called a tax increase.
It was probably, yeah, no. Now that you say that, I think it was probably a flaw in the...
Yeah, you don't get time on the nightly news.
No, you listen to me. I'm just kidding. I saw that in a movie once. No, what were you saying?
Here's what's happening. You and I are both paying $900.
What? You were saying?
We've done everything we can, and you actually can afford health insurance, but you just decided, you know what, I want to take my chances. And then you get hit by a bus.
Okay.
And you and I have to pay for the emergency.
President Obama, I'm not going to get hit by a bus.
That's not true, George.
Okay, hold on. Okay, first of all, my name's not George. And are you saying I'm going to get hit by a bus?
My critics say everything's a tax increase. My critics say that I'm taking over every sector of the economy. You know that.
No, you're good. You're good. Let's go back to the beginning. Remember?
Well, look, I think that are there folks in the...
Let's shift gears here for just a second. Donut packaging. $18 billion last year. Look, I like my donuts, but what can you tell me about the packaging there?
Now, they package these things in ways that in some cases may make it more convenient for some consumers, but they're overcharging massively for it. There's no competitive bidding under the process. And so what we've said is, instead of spending $18 billion a year, $177 billion over 10 years on that, why wouldn't we use that to close the donut hole so that people are
Now, you're
actually...
not talking about filling that hole. I kind of like that hole there. but maybe, we got the donut holes in one package, the donuts in another. Maybe you put them in the same package?
That's not so much it. This has been a sufficiently tough, complicated issue with so many moving parts that, no matter how much I've tried to keep it digestible, it's very hard for people to get their whole arms around it. And that's been a case where I have been humbled, and I just keep on trying harder because I really think it's the right thing to do for the country.
Thank you, Mr. President.